I think we're about ready to get started, guys. Got a lot to cover. You can tell by our lengthy agenda. Well, I'm glad you guys are all here today. I know I'm happy to be here today. I'm a little shocked to be here today. I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, but last year was actually an election year. And since it was an election year, we got a little bit of, I guess you could say, lack of support for this effort. We were told, we were given some friendly advice, or at least I know I was, said that if I kept pushing to get feds created and to keep developing feds, that it could affect and maybe possibly even end my federal career. It was pretty shocking because a lot of that advice came from people in our own community. People chosen or appointed to represent us and to speak up in our defense. People tasked with helping to remove the very same discriminatory practices we were fighting to remove were basically trying to shut us down. But then something amazing happens. Our members came forward. And they pretty much said, you know what, we've been dealing with this long enough. We're not going to wait till after an election. We want to see some change start to happen now. So then myself and the rest of the Feds board had a choice. We could either listen to those folks who, in our opinion, were basically scared we would highlight their lack of progress, or we could listen to our members. And, as many of you know, there are stories of oppression. Of course, us being a board and having nice conversations, decided just to keep moving forward. And yes, I did say oppression. If you look it up, oppress is defined as to inflict stress on, to be a source of worry, stress, or trouble to somebody. That sounds pretty much like nailing the nail on the head. So I've been told by some, once again, that if feds were just to highlight the positive things that are being done on behalf of employees with disabilities, we might get further. And that those who wanted to shut us down would allow us now to play in their sandbox. I don't know about you, but I think the government does have enough paid cheerleaders, and they don't need any more. And also, to be honest, I'm not sure how to even begin to spin the case of a GS7 who hasn't been promoted in 10 years and is still fighting for accommodations into something positive. Because you see, the positive for me, and I know for the rest of the board, lies in seeing the barriers to your promotions removed. The positive for us lies in seeing people with disabilities included in trainings. And the positive for us lies in seeing people fully included in their agency with the same opportunities as everyone else. So how are we going to get there? Well, the first thing we're going to do is to educate people who are in desperate need of educating. I must admit to you that I've been a little surprised by the sheer number of people who are under the misconception that the federal government treats people with disabilities like royalty, and that has exceeded its goals of becoming a model employer. I've actually had people say to me that if you have a disability and you work for the federal government, you have a golden ticket. You get security, you get access to promotions without a competition, and of course as much telework as you want. That sounds exactly like it, doesn't it? So I have that perception in this hand and the other reality of it in the other hand, and they're just so far off from each other. But surely, that's a lone case, right? I'm afraid not. I was at a meeting just a few weeks ago, and there was probably over 50 disability organizations there. And when I stated out loud that people were being discriminated against by the federal government, people who had disabilities, People weren't getting their accommodations and definitely not advancing in their careers like their counterparts were. That it was happening way too often without any recourse. People's jaws dropped around the room. Some even thought that all someone had to do to get an accommodation is to reach out to the Computer Electronic Accommodations Program. And within a week or two, any accommodations you could possibly need would appear at your office. So we have some educating to do. But we also need to take away some of their excuses. They say they can't find qualified people to hire. We see plenty of them in our community. Some of them are here tonight. We need to help them get into the federal government any way that we can. But we need to help each other also. I know you've probably, at one time or another, reached out to a, quote, higher up in our community to aid you. How many people here tonight got what they needed through this method? Okay, we're finding out with who, and we're getting their card. But I just want you to know who will give you help, career advice, and hope. The person next to you, or the person across the room, or someone you reach through this organization. They all are people who have had similar struggles and probably have similar goals. More importantly, they've joined FEDGE, which show they have a passion for advancing our own community and in seeing people with disabilities advancing to leadership positions. They are here, you are here, because you want to see our community move forwards towards equal opportunity and not, as we have seen others do, to simply use our community to advance yourselves. And that is a huge difference. It might take us a while to reclaim our community, but I believe we can do it. I believe in your help to get us there, and I believe in you to lead it once we arrive. Thanks. Next up, we're going to have Dane, who has served this year as our interim vice president, and he's going to talk about the accomplishments we had in 2012. Want to come on up, Dane?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. First, I wanted to thank the American with Disabilities, the veterans here at this place, for allowing us to have this. It's really close to my heart, this place, and they let us have our meeting here. So tonight, I want to briefly have a few announcements about 2012 and our accomplishments. I wish I had a beautiful PowerPoint or aid to show you and be able to point and stuff and force the interpreter to voice what they said, but sadly it's just me. I'm old school. So January through March of last year, 2012, we started the process here at FEDS. Jason had a vision for us. He wanted to start recruiting like-minded individuals who know what we need to do to help employees in the federal government stop hitting the glass ceiling. So we contacted the board. We have new members. We wanted new members. We set up different slots in government, different positions to fill with people with disabilities. March 20th, we set up a FEDS announcement, and that was done. And there's a lot of work invested in that to set up a website. And that was in March. In April, we attended a workshop at the University Law School. The Federation of There were many people involved, federal agencies that were involved in that.
Brandon,
And
could you use your outside voice right back here?
not loud enough, which means I'm not signing loud enough, I guess? Or who do I blame? I'm thinking the interpreter. Okay. Where do you want me to start from? Okay, so there are many agencies involved in that. And we all worked together and had different roles in big black government. The woman that was involved in that organization, we hired as vets, and it was, wow, we have special needs. And we added that to our list of goals for 2012. Is everyone all right?
Good.
Okay. So May, I met with OPM, the people, the executives there, and we set up a group with the purpose of advancing employees of the federal government. And we saw some things happening. So we signed a letter for the RHBC. And that was sent out for members underneath, to several different members of the President Obama staff. In June, we had some more time. So summer was a lengthy process for us. We went to DHHIG, and that's Deaf and Hard of Hearing in Government. They have a biannual conference. It's a one-day presentation. And then we signed an MOU. And that was with the ESSC and DHHIG, them both working together in tandem. And the purpose was to adopt better habits. And AAPD also had announcements with that. And the list goes really on and on of who we've contacted and what we've done. But most of the work we've done this past year was contacting, getting our name out there, being aggressive, and speaking up. Us helping them, and them helping us back. It's really about cooperation and us working together with the people that we can. And we want to make this become the first place people look when they're looking for like DHHIG, and when they're looking for how to promote in people in government and have a common interest in seeing the glass ceiling broken. One of our bigger accomplishments was in November. We really jumped leaps and bounds in our mentorship program. And so when people come to us, they need help, and we're able to offer them now. And it helps each individual. And that is just, there's so many more accomplishments that come from that one alone. So thank you for your time tonight. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Dane. Jacob is actually home sick, so we were going to skip ahead to Debbie Courtwright. We will talk about NCEPs when Matt speaks, though. And Debbie's our membership chair.
So if it's okay with you, I'm going to stay down here in the front. Okay. So I looked at this agenda today, picked it up, and said, oh, we have a lot to do, but I can take probably 15, 20 minutes, right? Then I turned it over, said, okay, give you about 5, okay? Keep it nice and short and sweet. So what about our membership? We want to know what's going on. Well, I've worked on the spreadsheet that we've been keeping on members, and our latest count is 173 members, which is really fantastic. We have different levels of membership. We have 9 associate members, 93 employee members, 26 founders, 32 students, and 2 retirees. So I think we have a very good mixture of people. Where are our members from? All over the place. And we have a lot of the students, of course, are still in school, but we have a lot of federal agencies also represented in our membership. We have people from the CDC, the Census, from Commerce, from DHHS, from DOD, DOJ, DOL, don't you like all these D's, DVA, from Education, from EEOC, from the FBI, behave, FCA, HHS, HUD, IRS, NASA, SSA, Treasury, USAID, U.S. Coast Guard, out of that, and the USDA. So we have quite a number of agencies represented. We have a variety of different levels of employment. People, of course, the students are still looking for a job, and a lot of other people are as well. But we have representatives from, GS2 all the way to someone who is an SES too. So that's also very good. I don't have for you real strong information about where our members are located because we haven't been keeping that in our membership as far as the states and all that are represented. But I can tell you that I did process a membership that was from as far away as Hawaii. So we are all over the place, which is really, really good. So I think that's about all I have to say about membership. We will be, in the future, of course, sending out for membership renewals, and we're going to work on that. Oh, one other thing I did want to say, too. We're fledgling, we're just starting. We've got some bumps and bruises as we go along the way, and membership has passed through several different hands, okay? I feel, in fact, I know that somewhere along the way, someone who had signed up might have never gotten their membership information. Maybe we don't have them. And so if you talk to someone who said, oh, that organization, I tried to sign up, they never got back to me, please apologize on our behalf. Like I said, we're going through some bumps and bruises. And have them contact us again, and we'll try to make sure we make it right, okay? Does anybody have any questions?
Do you have a list of the membership, or will that be a list available?
We do have a list.
It's not anything that we've put out before. Something we could definitely consider doing as far as putting it on the website, but of course, I think we would want to ask the members if they're okay with that
Yeah, I think
first.
we'll have to check.
You just name in department or agency, or student.
I think
Maybe
that's
their
something.
email.
Yeah, we could look into that definitely. And I want to thank Debbie too, because Debbie did come in and take this over, Let's face it, doing the membership is not a very glorious job as far as a board member. It's a lot
Really?
of,
I thought it was the best.
it's a lot of, that's what I told you to get you to take it. It's just, it's a lot of data, and it's, we have had 2 people who had this before her who just really did not keep as good a records as we would have thought they would have. So she's really been good about trying to rebuild our database and to get people the information they need. So, once again, you can't scream too loud at people who work for free. So.
Right.
So I appreciate that, Debbie. We actually have Matt coming up next. He will talk about the forming of FEDS chapters, but since Jacob's sick, he'll also talk about some of the other affinity groups we've been working with. since we started Feds last year.
That's right. Thank you, Jason. So hello, I'm Matt Murphy. I'm an attorney at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and it was through that experience that I was introduced to Jason and this organization. Our commissioner, Kai Feldman, contacted me and said there's this great group of people, this great guy, they're starting this organization, and you should know them and help them if you're able. So we got a group together, or they got a group together, and I was part of it, and I was just astounded at how far they had come along and what an amazing, amazing group of people this was. So that was my introduction to this organization, and there's such an incredible need for a group like this, and I'm so happy, I'm so glad it's formed, and has already accomplished a tremendous amount. So, first I'm going to talk about forming a chapter. Just to get a sense, how many of you have similar organizations at your agency? Okay. Are these employee organizations, or are they organizations that are agency sponsored or resource groups?
At Labor, we have an ERG.
Okay. So it's kind of an agency run and led group, yeah.
Well, employee more than agency, but yeah.
Jamie?
Yeah, ours was at the request of the EO office, but in last year, in the absence of having a disability coordinator, I kind of ran the group.
Uh-huh.
And this year, they actually had a great disability coordinator, so I was happy to give those administrative responsibilities over. But,
Yeah.
but it was kind of, I think now and before, we really try to make sure it's the group of the people, not the group of the organization. So.
Gotcha. So there is a framework within the law for employee organizations to form at different agencies. And they are called different things at different agencies at different times. But what I'm talking about when I'm talking about employee organizations are employee organizations that are formed pursuant to Title V in Chapter 5 or 5 CFR, blank, whatever it is. These regulations provide, again, for a framework for employee organizations to form. And what they provide is that if an employee organization forms and meets certain requirements, including having democratic elections, having a non-discrimination policy, and additional similar requirements, such as providing a copy of their annual bylaws to the agency and being organized for nonprofit purposes, not necessarily being a 501c3 under the code, but being organized for nonprofit purposes, then that gives the organization certain rights including access to agency space, conference rooms, telephones, VTC rooms, and to the extent available and consistent with agency policy, funds to attend, for instance, what might be an upcoming, hopefully, conference for feds. So another really key thing it does, even absent all that, is it gives the organization the right, the whole purpose behind the regulations that create this framework for employee organizations to exist, is to engage with management and leadership on issues that are relevant to the employees that you represent. So, in the federal government, we have several national organizations, such as Blacks in Government, Federally Employed Women, National Organization for Mexican American Rights, Asian American Government Employees Network, Federal Asian Pacific American Council, and now we have Federal Employees with Disabilities. There have been two giant gaps in affinity groups. One has been for the LGBT community, and another has been for individuals with disabilities. Thanks to the work of Jason, Dane, and everybody else here, many of whom I'm meeting for the first time, although we've talked on the phone many times, There is a group in place. There's a group that people are listening to, paying attention to, and advocating for the rights of individuals with disabilities. So that's one method to do it. Having a national organization behind you helps a lot. It's critical. And then another way to do it is having a chapter of that organization within your organization. So what I made available to all of you is that you'll get, they're on the table. I was trying to sort them out while others were presenting, but I have a copy of model bylaws that you can use to start a chapter at your organization. I have a, one of the requirements to get recognized by Feds, the national organization, is that you have to submit your bylaws and they have to be approved by the national organization. So I have a memo here that I drafted that you can copy and use when submitting your chapter bylaws, which will likely in most respects model the chapter bylaws that I developed as a model. And you can submit that and request formal recognition once you, or approval, formal approval. Once you get the approval of the national organization, then you can form your chapter and adopt formally your bylaws. So once you do that, you go to your agency and you say, it might be your EEO office, it might be your civil rights office, it might be your HR office. It differs at every organization. And as we proceed and move forward, one thing that would be really helpful is if you share this information with whoever the appropriate point of contact is at Feds. If that person's not yet been identified, I'm sure they will be at some point. But you contact that person and say, hey, we've started a chapter of Feds. We have several members who are members of Feds, which is a requirement. All of your members of your agency organizations have to be members of the national organization. So we've started this chapter, and we want to know how to be officially recognized within the agency as an employee organization. Do you have a policy procedure in place? If not, absent that, can you develop one? A, and B, in the interim, can you just go ahead and recognize us? And then you want to request meetings with leadership within your agency. And that's something that the national organization would be happy to help with. One of us would be happy to sit down with you as you meet with your agency leadership and develop an agenda and a list of items that matter most to you and your organization. We all face very similar issues, and many of our organizations suffer from some of the same problems. We have a long way to go, but there are, of course, our unique issues to your organization. So that's why I think it's so important to start a chapter. And this has worked so incredibly well with other organizations. I'm the EEO director at the EEOC. Other organizations come to me and they want to meet with me. For instance, BIG, Pew, et cetera, and they say, show me your workforce analysis. Show me who makes up your leadership. How many Hispanic individuals do you have in the feeder pools for SES positions? And what are you doing to ensure that you get representation, sufficient representation of Latinos or whatever the group is in your feeder pools? And what are you doing to develop these individuals? So that's one thing we really, really need in this community. And there's a lot of focus about hiring. Let me wrap it up real quick and I'll take the question. But a lot of emphasis on hiring. And we've heard so much how important it is to hire individuals with disabilities. And yet, the majority, based on my interactions of HR personnel and EEO personnel and disability program managers, wherever they're located within the agency, have zero familiarity or close to zero with Schedule A hiring. So we've been waxing redundant for a long time about the importance of hiring, and yet people charged with hiring individuals with disabilities are fully unfamiliar in many instances with Schedule A. So that's just an example of what we need to focus on. And having an organization like this is I think, going to be really helpful, and I'm excited to be a part of it. Question?
What's the
administrative. In the Air Force, we have an employee resource group that has had its bylaws approved by